city has a story. Every person has a story. And when you look at the city from above and you're especially in our plane now, you're very slowly above the world, and you can watch people's lives come and go, and it's not just like this all-encompassing story. People are having stories. I hope that my paintings kind of just, it's just all of the stories at once, and everyone is happy and everyone's sad, and there's someone in that building is celebrating a birthday, and someone in that city just gave birth. Like, it's all of it at once, which is overwhelming. Or people can walk up to me and be like, cool, that's where I live, and walk away. Like, I don't care. Like, it can be what you want it to be. I don't think there was a time where, like, as a kid, I was like, oh, I'm an artist. I feel like art has just consistently shown up in my life, and it's never really been like a choice, like it was never like baseball or art or, playing outside or art. It's just, art has always been there. It's like reading a book or eating dinner. It's just consistently being part of my life, and not that choice that you make when you're little, like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and that, like, it's never been like that for me. I am Kelly Hieronymus, and I am a visual artist. I was drawing, and I drew my grandma, and my grandma's like, I know this is an exaggeration, she's like 4'10", and she's little, and she's got strawberry blonde hair, and she's got this cute wave in the front, it like flips this way, but she was always dressed impeccably, like, green suits, and just like, she just always had it going on, all of her jewels, and she was just like little, and she looked like she stepped out of like Saks Fifth Avenue, and it wasn't, because we're Champaign, Illinois, but I drew her when I was like 3, and it's like, I didn't know proportions, but I drew everything about her. I drew her big green bow, and I drew her suit, and then, like, by the time I got to the hands, they were just as big as the head, because I drew every finger, like, so, I mean, I think as a kid, you explore those things naturally. I just never stopped exploring it. I went to school for interior design, and again, that kind of focuses on plans. You're looking very flat on, you're looking down at a plan, and you're looking at, elevations and planning things from a very flat point. As I was done with school and started to experiment in art again, I really just was completely infatuated, like when I would travel, looking down at the land and seeing that straight down visual that I had already fallen in love with, that I already knew made sense to me. So when I started to just kind of like doodle it when I was on the airplanes, they were completely abstract and completely from my own head. So I wasn't exploring images out in the world. I was exploring images in my brain that I could then make flat. Like, I could just take something that I wanted to be flat and turn it into that. I mean, that's how I started with the aerial maps. And that's where I'm at now. My husband is a pilot, and we have had a few airplanes, but currently we have a J3 Cub that we fly in out of Mattoon, Coles County Airport. But the process has always been, despite what airplane we're in, is I take what I'm seeing, and every season changes the fields, so I'm always getting new inspiration. Like if it's snowing, you're seeing a completely different track, and you're seeing completely different boundaries and hedges that you didn't realize were there. I think of it like, when you get a starburst you really like that, like, I got the yellow one. Like, that's how I feel when I find something that I want to paint. Like, there it is, like, yes, give it to me. So when I find something, I usually I get on maps and I just poke a pin in it. And I use those coordinates, and when I get back to the studio, I plug those coordinates in and then use a combination of maps and Photoshop to kind of start pre-plan my images. And that's solely out of time. You know, gridding in 1950s was like the thing, because that was the only thing you could do, but you know, might as well use technology to help kind of further, you know, get rid of some of the ickiness of the process. But I use Photoshop to make the lines, and then I use old school carbon paper, and I trace them, and then I paint them. My maps are all the way from, you know, like 11 by 14, and the largest ones I've done are 30 by 40. So, you know, they're all different scales, and they're, you know, they really also have started to grow where I'm not just doing Champaign-Urbana. In Champaign, you can go 100 miles almost every direction, and the world isn't changing that much because it's not changing in elevation, but the second, you know, you add, you know, anywhere from 500 to 1,000 feet of elevation, which isn't much, it really starts to alter the image. And how do you represent that height change in a painting without it looking messy, without it looking like a topography map, or just it's interesting to explore the world. As of late, my work can be found outside of the Phillips Recreation Center through a project called Murals on Glass. My piece, South Farm Number 9, and that piece is an area of Champaign that I do very regularly. I've painted it on wood. I've done it in sections of 4. You can see them up there. That's the same piece. South Farm's right there. I have an old plate of it. It's framed in my house. I am just obsessed with this like little 1/16 of a mile in South Champaign. It's just a really cool area to me. I have a mural out on the back in the alley at Furniture Lounge, where Scott and Amanda were so awesome to host me and you know, really felicitate getting that mural on the wall. Very cool, and really hoping that some other business owners in Champaign follow their lead, because it's important to have that in our cities. I just want to ace award for advocacy for my involvement with Boneyard and the Champaign schools, and then of course Art Nerd Club, which is a hoot and a half. Art Nerd Club is a monthly meeting. We have it at Art Coop in Urbana. Anna Peters graciously hosts us, just lets her use her gallery for that. And it is a group where everyone is invited. We want people to feel like they can really open up and share and talk about their work. And we feel if you're not an artist and you're not willing to bare your soul, just sit there and just kind of like just take it in and appreciate it for what it is. We don't want it. And our Art Nerd Club it caters to all artists. So, you know, we've got people, we had someone come that they just started painting the month before, and she was amazing. Like, you know, give her a year, I feel like she's gonna be great. And we've had a 6-year-old come, which was pretty cute and adorable. He was terrified. His Aunt Mimi did some of the talking for him, and it was awesome. And we've had people like Bob Chapman come, where, you know, he steals the show, and you know, we have these 10-minute time limits, and we're just like, please don't stop talking. Like, you're amazing. And it's a great group that you can count on as an artist to go to if you're stuck on work. If you don't know where to start, you just want advice. I have work at Logic, which is a co-working space in Champaign. They did a call for artists, I believe it was through 40 North, And they chose 9 of us, and our work is represented throughout the entire space. So my work, which I did Champaign-Urbana and campus, they turned into curtains for their everyday kitchen, which is pretty awesome. And they took Lisa Kessler's lino prints and put them on this huge wall. And Nathan Westerman, Stacey Ghost, there's Barry Abrams did some amazing graphic work. Echo's little lino, her little movie things. So that was huge and awesome for our community, and it really helped step things up in another aspect. Like, we've got so many facets to our art community. That was just like another one. It was like, oh look, we're shinier than we were before. I did start to incorporate different art and crafts into my outpouring of work so I could participate in markets. So I did some jewelry out of polymer clay, and I did try to incorporate it into my artist statement. So the beads all kind of have, each bead is completely separate from everyone else. Everyone is individualized, and they have different patterns on them, or they're flecked with gold, and they are supposed to represent fields. So like, if you buy a necklace and you see like little tick marks on it, like that is a field full of turnips. Or so that was kind of, I try to keep my story in my craft, even though the craft was there as a money maker. A lot of artists, when they decide to become an artist, or they've always been an artist, really not flounder. I don't think flounder seems a little like a negative word, and I don't mean it negatively, but they have a hard time finding their voice before they actually get started. I think that you need to give yourself time and patience and understanding to like really think about who you are as an artist, what you're trying to say, and find a style before you step out to the world. If you ever want to step out, you don't have to. Before you take that leap, because I think that will really help your practice and your flow if you think about who you are as an artist before you really like jump in. I hope that they realize that there is another way to view our art, right? Like, we spend all of our time on the ground, especially in Central Illinois, right? We're not in Chicago. You don't live in a high rise. Like, we are all on ground zero all of the time. And so we only have this one particular view, and I think we get stuck in our own worlds, and we get stuck like in this little very like narrow area. But the paintings from above is there are other views of the world. Like, you don't have to get in an airplane to see them, but there's always a way to look at something differently and experience your world in a different light and manner.
To get involved and support the Urbana Public Arts program, please contact the Public Arts Coordinator Rachel Storm at rlstorm@urbanaillinois.us or 217-328-8265.